Welcome back to Inside Story. We talked all through the commercial break. There's a political aspect to this. Jim Kinney, he came out and said some things at the beginning of the week, was apologizing by the end of the week. Some African-American politicians and leaders are saying, that's just talk. We want to talk about stop and frisk. We want to talk about other changes. Is there political peril for Kinney on this, that he's gotten a lot of goodwill, but this could be a turning point for him?
It seems to be a turning point in a good way so far. I mean, he was pretty proactive about being the mayor, meeting with the executives of Starbucks. I understand he also met with the two victims of the arrest as well. So I think he's been pretty proactive in regards to this response. And you know, to the degree that there's a political gain or loss, I think she's probably on the plus side through this exchange.
I agree with David's analysis, and I also think that I spoke to the mayor, and one of the things that he pointed out is he thought that the officers could have diffused the situation by just buying each of those guys a bottle of water and saying, okay, here you go, you're here, and saying to the manager, all right, we bought these bottles of water, we don't see any threat here. So I think there's going to be a longer conversation internally with Commissioner Ross. I think he was, as other panelists have pointed out, he's trying to straddle a line between making sure that the law is followed, but also being respectful and responsive to the human circumstance. It was just too little humanity and too much line drawing in this episode.
For those of you who run businesses, I think a lot of business owners and a lot of citizens are looking back and going, I've been talking about Starbucks now for a week. We want to know how to turn the page. What should the answer be so African Americans can go in businesses and not feel imperiled? So business owners should know what to do. What are concrete, real things that should happen so this feels like there's been truly some sort of difference or understanding or resolution? Like, what would you have businesses do?
Well, one part of it is to build the trust bank going forward, right? So it's to make sure when incidents like this does happen, people know that this is aberrational to that corporation or company, because then they say, well, you know what, they've also done this, and they've done this outreach, and they have this program to hire more minorities and
That's
others.
That's not saving Starbucks right now.
No, it isn't, but because I don't think people are as aware about their trust bank, to be honest with you. It's kind of like a cool brand, it's a hip, you go in to get a cup of coffee, but I don't know much about what the values are of it, the company. Now I know Howard Schultz is thinking of running for probably for President of the United States, which is probably freaking him out about this whole thing at the last minute. But anyway, so that's it. So build the trust back. Have a disaster recovery plan. Have that emergency plan so you quickly jump on top of it. They seem to not have had that. They probably have had a plan for, God forbid, somebody got sick on coffee or the beans were bad, but perhaps not for this sort of a situation too. Train, and jump on it too.
If I'm Jimmy Joe's Coffee, a small mom and pop, what should I take out of this?
I think
David,
what you want, I think what citizens want, I think what the public wants is that they would love for these businesses to have aspirational goals about how they treat everybody equitably. I think what you will get is true business practice, which will be a policy that will ensue, that will establish very clear lines as to who's an invitee and who is not, and the terms under which you can expel someone. So I think more likely than not, you're going to see more signs saying, purchase product to access bathroom. You're allowed to be here for a certain amount of time. There are going to be these kinds of rules that will remove discretion and judgment from managers, but will allow them to point to policies as the reason why they're expelling someone.
I think Farah's right. Look, for most companies, there are sort of whistle policies that tell you what to do. It is right, moral and ethically and business-wise. But then there are sort of these dog whistle practices that happen. And the test is, can we fix the dog whistle practices in business?
Yep. Is this a game-changing moment, David? Or if 6 months from now, it'll just be one more in a ticker tape of things we've talked about?
I certainly hope so. And to be a game-changing moment would mean that we all have to take this moment as an opportunity to question our implicit bias.
Yeah.
You know, that's the
right.
game changer. The game changer is not what Starbucks pivots and does from a PR standpoint in the next couple of days. The game changer is whether we all take this stock in ourselves and say, what is our implicit bias? Every human deserves dignity and respect, and how do I, through my daily work, offer that?
All right. Well, that's been it. We'll be back in a moment for Inside Stories.